A child sat in the dentist's chair, accompanied by their mother. Their eyes trembled because this was the place where their terrifying nightmares came to life. The dentist's office was dark and eerie in their eyes. As they waited, horrifying scenarios began to flood the child's mind. The minutes leading up to their turn felt like hours. Meanwhile, their mother attempted to comfort them, but fear still dominated their thoughts. The child's first fear was the dentist wielding sharp instruments to harm them. The mask worn by the dentist gave them a sinister appearance, and the child began to imagine the person behind that mask as a monster. Then the child envisioned being strapped to the dentist's chair. Unable to escape, they imagined a hidden trap under the chair, locking them in and rendering them helpless. A particularly frightening scenario played out in the child's mind as the ceiling light suddenly went out, plunging the room into darkness. They could sense unseen entities closing in on them in that darkness. The child pondered the idea of malevolent, clawed hands hiding beneath the dentist's gloves, ready to rip their teeth out. They couldn't shake the feeling of dread that came with it. They briefly felt trapped in a windowless room. Before the dentist could repeat the procedure, claustrophobia gripped them, and it felt as if the walls were closing in. The child imagined the dentist's gloves concealing sharp, elongated nails. These nails, they feared, would be used to inflict pain and torment. In their mind, the child's mother was silenced by the dentist. Unable to help, they envisioned their cries for help falling on deaf ears. The child began to picture strange and unsettling objects on a table beside the dentist's chair. They believed these objects would be used to harm and torture them. They imagined the dentist's mask concealing a ghastly visage, and they believed this masked figure was actually a malevolent spirit that would possess them and never let go. The child considered that the dentist's room would become a prison with no way out, and their helplessness would only grow. As the moment to enter the dentist's office drew near, an eerie feeling washed over them as if they were trapped in a windowless chamber. When they finally sat in the dentist's chair, their eyes darted around nervously, while their mother offered reassurance. Fear still clung to them as the dentist's gloved hands drew near. The child tightly closed their eyes, attempting to shield themselves from their terrifying scenarios. But something strange happened. The dentist didn't follow the terrifying script the child had envisioned. Instead, they began their work gently, inspecting the child's teeth. The child realized that the horrifying scenarios they had imagined were not coming true. As they left the dentist's office, the child felt relieved. The terrifying scenarios had been products of their imagination, and the dentist's visit wasn't as frightening as they had feared. This experience taught them that their fears weren't always based in reality, and that their imagination could sometimes deceive them. The child was no longer afraid of going to the dentist, and they thanked their mother with a smile. Comfort and confidence had replaced the horrifying scenarios, and they were now braver when sitting in the dentist's chair.